Welcome to an AM version of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. We've given you the night to think about it. We've given you the morning to think about it. Jarrett there, Jon here, and it is discussion of a goalless draw at Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. And we know that a lot of you have come in on Twitter and given us your thoughts. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But first and foremost, opening statement, Jarrett Smith.
Not every game can be pretty, and that certainly fit the bill last night. Good God, that was not pretty. If you didn't enjoy it, that's fine. Because it was, I think they got to the point where the game plan was, they had a game plan, and then the game plan was, hey, we just need to get out of here with a point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. They got out of there with a point last night, and it kind of was what I'm wondering what people will do with this Red Bulls team, because this Red Bulls team does Red Bulls things really well, but they don't necessarily do non-Red Bulls things very well.
Right.
So if you can take this game, drag it into a mud puddle, and then try and see who can hold the other person down until the bubble stops coming up and the kicking stops, that might be what happens. Definitely not pretty. Almost like I would have actually dug my own grave and died if George Bello puts that shot in the back of the net at the very end, because of the fact that Atlanta didn't try and carry the water in this game, and then almost steal 3 points at the end, which would have been hilarious, because how many times have we watched Atlanta carry the water for 90 minutes of a game and then get just shanked in the kidney in the very last minute? I mean, holy hell. That'd have been hilarious to see Atlanta on the other end of that. It's not my favorite style, what we saw last night, but you went into Red Bull Arena and you got a point out of it.
And
it's not something you've always done. So,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to collect the thought with it.
Well, but it's a point that Nick makes when you're dealing with this particular system. There are times in the match where you can take advantage of everything that a Red Bulls side has invested, and there are those windows. And that window right there at the last, if Jurgen Damm comes in and it's deflected, Bello ends up with it, and it ends up just missing out for Atlanta United. But there was that one opportunity right there at the last in one of the windows that Nick specifically says that you can get on top of a Red Bulls team and get a result out of it. But no, you were right on with all of that.
That whole it was deflected and Atlanta made something happen. Y'all talk about that like they did what Red Bulls does. They do it at different points of the field. The Red Bulls are very good at doing Red Bulls related things, which is forcing that turnover high and getting forward quickly and picking out the right pass, or on set pieces, as we have seen in the past, just putting it into the mixer and watching shit happen. Absolutely a thing that they are capable of doing. And if they had had 3 points ripped out of them because of Jurgen Damm's pass getting deflected and falling to a left back who puts it in the back of the net, I would have dug my own grave happily and laughed and laughed and laughed, because turnabout is fair play. And there are elements of that, doing that pressing style, that I think are really fun and super exciting. The thing about it, and I know Jason shares this sentiment, and I know I would assume we're not the only ones who share this sentiment. The thing that always kind of pisses me off the most about it is the not letting, the idea of, we're not going to let you play. That if you break the press, we're going to smack your ass down. We're not going to let you play. Because, that's part of the press, though. It kind of comes with the territory. But so often we watched Red Bulls play games against Atlanta, and it is a clash of styles. And Atlanta's willing to go out there and change that style up and say, hey, instead of us trying to carry the water the whole time and getting our ass beat, we're still probably going to get our ass beat. But if it ain't there, and if we can't play it out the back, then cool, man, we're going to treat this like Iowa football. We're just going to punt and make you carry it. And Red Bull's chances came when Atlanta tried to play out of the back and made mistakes playing with the ball. They got the ball long, man. And we ran into this in 2018 when Atlanta had a 3-goal lead in the aggregate going to Red Bull Arena.
Mm-hmm.
If you make Red Bulls build the entire possession game and make them carry the water, they're not great at it because that's not what they do. They want
Nope.
you to have the ball so they can come up, kick you in the kidneys, and take it from you, and then build something quickly. And it creates some really good, like 5-10 second clips of goals. But man, it's hard for them to build that sustained possession. And I'm going to be interested to see what happens if they end up getting into the playoffs. Imagine if they have to play somebody like a Philadelphia who likes to press
Mm-hmm.
too and who likes to also really get their hands dirty.
Yep.
It could be a lot of fun having both of them play each other because Philadelphia can play with the ball in that instance. And I'm wondering if you get a situation where they're like, hey, we're just going to punt it long and then try and chase and pin Red Bulls down, make Red Bulls punt it long, and then becomes so vital to win that second ball, which we've seen in the past, and it's such a big deal when when Red Bulls try and just launch the ball forward and get on the end of that second ball. And then if you do get onto it, immediately get your head up and find where you need to go with it. And if that's right back to Brad Guzan so he can punt it long, so be it, because they want you to get caught with possession, and you can't get caught with possession because you saw what happens when you do that last night. You got the crossbar hit on you. Patrick Klimala, dude, I've
Klamala.
been mispronouncing this cat's name for a minute.
You and me both.
But he has the chance 1v1. Someone actually asked me. I didn't respond on the Twitch pitch because I was busy covering a football game. Is this the Patrick Klimala experience? Like, maybe. Like, he didn't get much of a run at Celtic, so it's hard for me to say for sure.
Here's your numbers from the match. Red Bulls had 57% possession, 15 total shots to 2, 3 on target to 1 for Atlanta United. 12 corners for Red Bulls, most of them really happening in the first half. I think 8 were in the first half. 17 fouls on the day for Red Bulls compared to 4 for Atlanta United. Here's your passing numbers. 296 of 410 for Red Bulls at 72%. Atlanta United 210 of 338 for 62%. Long balls, 28 long balls for Atlanta United and 84 attempts at 33%. 22 of 59 for Red Bulls at 37. Crosses, 5 of 36. 5 of 36 crosses for Red Bulls. I did not know that the number was that high. 5 of 36 crosses
That's
for
like
Red
Minnesota
Bulls.
2018 levels. Jesus.
You ain't kidding. 2 of 5 for Atlanta United, 40%. Dribbles, 12 of 23 at 52% for Red Bulls. Atlanta United, 5 of 13 at 38%. Atlanta United winning 62 out of 120 of the duels, so just over 50%. And aerial duels, once again, over 50% as well. Tackles, 20 to 17 for Red Bulls. 30 picks for the Red Bulls compared to 17. 41 clearances for Atlanta United on the day. Atlanta United, with your numbers, Brad Guzan came up big a couple of times, punched a 7.4, as did Alan Franco. Anton Walks a 7.3. Franco Ibarra, who came in, served well with a 7.2. Miles with a 7.1. Sixes on the board, 6.6s to Moreno and Barco and Lennon. Hasetu with a 6.5. Bella with a 6.9. Luis Aruju with the frustration yellow at a 6.1 on the night. So that's your numbers on the day. When it comes to what we saw out of Mateus Hasetu, once again, you see that quiet confidence, literally the silent assassin, I think, in the midfield. Numbers for Hasetu: 25 of 31 in accurate passes on 41 touches, 81%. 1 of 2 on his long balls, 2 of 5 on ground duels that were won. 8 times he had his possession lost, fouled twice, 2 picks, and 2 dribbles passed. And so, in games like this, Jarrett, I think we look at folks like a Mateus Hasetu who can be that stabilizer that we're looking at in the midfield to make sure that things don't get completely out of hand. And it was another instance of that last night for Atlanta United with Hasetu.
We're going to have a dialogue about how we judge midfielders in this organization. Because we've had this a lot now, where we've
Yes.
had, the Emerson Hyndman narrative shifted. Like, that thing was listing more than the Edmund Fitzgerald. Jesus Christ, y'all. And now the Hasetu one is doing pretty much the same thing. We're about to get swamped, and we're about to the point where we get swamped and end up on the bottom of the Lake Superior.
Yes.
I don't think Gordon Lightfoot's going to write a song about Mateus Hasetu, but Jesus, maybe he should. but the narrative has changed on him
For the
so many
defense
damn
of
times. You
Mateus
feel
Usetu.
Thank you very much for
Mm.
that. But you've gone from this narrative of, was it the Birmingham game in 20, early 2020 preseason, where he's very impressive. Then it's just kind of middling for parts of 2020 because 2020 is kind of a mess of a year. Then you end up with this year where there's a lot of bodies in the midfield. You've got Marcelino Moreno. You're not sure how it's exactly going to play out with Gabriel Heinze. Then you get Rob Valentino coming in on the interim. Then you get Gonzalo Pineda. You're still trying to figure out, how everyone's going to fit and what exactly they need to do. Well, Setsu got pushed into the situation because Emerson Hyndman gets hurt. Mo Adams not available either consistently. And Zetu's done what he was brought in to do, which is be that guy to cause problems and to make sure that he has the ball and does the simple things. Because again, the simple things are only simple until someone's not doing them. Then they become a damn problem.
Mm-hmm. Who else in this, in this effort last night stood out to you? I mean, frankly, I could sit here and mention practically the entire back line and Brad Gazan for doing the defending that they did. But let's get into like the last 15 to 20 minutes where yes, it was a white knuckle ride, but I think that when you had Atlanta United defensively pretty much taking every body shot that Red Bulls were trying to put out there and basically just saying, all right, let's turn it into Iowa football and just sending it out and then having the ball in the middle third for Red Bulls where it was like, okay, so Atlanta United's going to send it out. And all right, so it's your turn to try to figure out how to do something offensively. I think it was, I mean, was it safe to say that, is it accurate to say really that Atlanta United were Red Bulling Red Bulls in that last 20 minutes?
It kind of seemed like a rope-a-dope style, yeah. That was really interesting the way they went about it at the very end of just being smart with the ball, and it's like a blanket term to describe what the hell just happened, but it's long balls to you're targeting Joseph, who's not really a target guy, but he's being smart, letting Red Bulls players get the first touch. Then it goes out of bounds and it's a throw in, and so then the pace of the game falls apart, and then it doesn't really give Red Bulls a chance. It doesn't give the Red Bulls a chance to get that ball that's going to be bouncing off the long goal kick to bounce up into the air, to then become a second ball, which can be won, and for a break to be triggered. Because you can't trigger a break on a team that's going to want to sit back as deep as as Atlanta United was at times. It's hard to. I mean, if they're not going to come out with the ball, it's tougher for Red Bulls to get something triggered. They got to go chase it down and try and get it in the corner. And they had a couple instances of that, but then you get guys like Ezequiel Barco, who was super impressive, doing the defensive dirty work in a game that wasn't really what we know from Barco. I mean, Atlanta doesn't dominate possession in this game, doesn't carry the water in this game, but Barco's still out there making an impact. And I was very impressed with him. I'm very impressed with Ibarra as he continues to show that there's a reason they grabbed him out of South America after the Copa Diego Armando Maradona. Dude's talented as hell,
Mm-hmm.
and you're throwing him in there because you're Santiago Sosa, who has been absolutely fantastic in the second half of the season after a little bit of a lull in the first half. He's out injured. You got Ibarra coming out there into a tough game, and you just need him to make sure that you're winning those second balls and you're not letting Red Bulls break. And I thought he did his job as well as could be asked.
Let's take a look at the other matches from last night and how it lays everything out now in the standings in the East. CF Montreal with 2 goals in quick succession as a minus 208 favorite. They beat Houston, not necessarily a surprise, at Stade Saputo 2-0. Out west, Austin with the big surprise, knocking off Sporting by the score of 3-1. Same score, Portland with 3 in the first half. RSL scores a goal very late to go 3-1. We'll be catching up with Nico Moreno a little later on this morning, and we'll catch up with him about what he thought about last night and with the West. So let's take a look at the standings now after last night. Everyone's on 33 matches, so make sure that you have everything squared away by the weekend. So when it's decision day and all the Eastern teams are playing at the same time and all the Western teams are playing at the same time, you have all of your devices squared away. New England, 73 points, 33 matches played. They are 20 points clear of Philadelphia, who's at 53. 14 wins for Philadelphia, only 12 for Nashville, who's also at 53 points. So keep an eye on that one, as Philadelphia and Nashville once again tied at 53. Philadelphia goes to NYC, so 2 versus 4 on decision day. Nashville hosts Red Bulls. There will be no Patrick Klamala because of yellow card accumulation. Once again, a moment of frustration got the best of Patrick Klamala. He ends up with a yellow card from Alan Kelly. He is out for the game in Nashville as 7 takes on 3. NYC is 4th. They are at 50 points. Atlanta United with the win, 12, 12, and 9, plus 7 on goal difference over Orlando City, both at 48 points. Remember, Atlanta goes to TQL to take on FC Cincinnati. 4 wins, 21 losses, 8 draws, 33 matches, and only 20 points on decision day. Orlando, this one's the fun one that we've been poking at for probably the last month to 6 weeks. Orlando City goes to Stade Saputo on decision day, 8 versus 6. CF Montreal is at 46 points. They win, they jump Orlando City. Orlando City, depending on results, say Red Bulls get a result knocking off Nashville, Orlando City could be out of the discussion when it comes to decision day and the playoffs. Even if Red Bulls get a draw, their goal difference would be +6. Once again, Orlando City's goal difference at +7. Red Bulls have 13 wins. Orlando City has only 12. So draw or win, Red Bulls might knock out Orlando City if CF Montreal gets the Duke at Stade Saputo. So that's where things stand there. DC United, obviously, they play Toronto FC at BMO. They get a win and some help. They get to 47 points, but they're even on goal difference. They would need a big win at BMO. Columbus, once again, they are hosting Chicago Fire. Interesting stuff coming out of Chicago last night, where apparently a lot of folks have been told that their services will no longer be needed. Francisco Calvo has been told, hey, dude, go ahead and check in with your national team. Don't worry about the game at lower.com. You're good. And Chicago, Jarrett, literally just continues to be Chicago before we get into the Twitters.
Chicago's a lot of things.
Yeah.
None of them are good words. None of them are good, happy words to use for Chicago.
Right.
A lot of bullshit in Chicago, y'all. This is not how you do things.
No.
This is not. This is saying the quiet part out loud. Like, this reminds me of the last year of Derek Jeter's career in Major League Baseball. I'm playing the All-Star game. I believe he had a home run. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was his last All-Star game. He hits a home run, and the pitcher afterwards, like, yeah, I threw one for him so he could hit it out. Like, yeah, we know. You don't have to tell us. You don't say that part out loud. You don't get brownie points for that crap. In Chicago, you don't get brownie points for telling your players, hey, you're not coming back next year, so go out there and run around for 90 minutes for us and possibly get hurt, even though we're not going to bring you back and your contract is not going to be with us next year. Okay, thanks. Have a good day, guys. Bye. You don't do that. Come on, man. Every time Chicago starts to like climb up on the horse, they decide to stand up on one foot and fall off and get kicked in the face by the horse at the same time, just for good measure. Like, what are you doing? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what Chicago's doing. Every time they take one step forward, the next step is right into a sewer hole. And they fall in, like, I don't know. Like, we don't have alligators in the Georgia sewers. I don't know. We probably have rabid raccoons or something.
What we might have are cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers, otherwise known as Chud, coming up after this show on the Superstation.
Thanks, Skip. You were dead. Apparently not. I don't know what the hell is going on with them. It comes across like such a low rent move by that organization. Whatever, Chicago. I'm tired of talking about you. I'm aggravated by it. Jason might be like not as mad at you as he used to be in 2016. I'll pick up the mantle then, man, because y'all are a mess. Which is what's really annoying is we keep winning random games, and they're this just Jesus, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Come on. Aside from the rest of it, yeah, Orlando Montreal is going to be a rock fight. That's basically going to be like watching the hallway scene from Old Boy for 90 minutes over and over and over. Just run that and then run it back. Yeah, both of them are going to need wins. Atlanta needs Philadelphia to go into New York City and win. If I'm not mistaken, New York City win puts them at 51. If Atlanta wins, they're
New York City win
at
puts them at 53, but their goal
53.
difference is astronomical.
Oh yeah, so if they draw, they're at 51. Atlanta would be 49.
Yeah. So if Atlanta,
so you need them to lose in Atlanta to win for you to get a home field.
Right.
Because hey guys, if all things being equal right now, Atlanta probably go to New York City next week or for the first game of the playoffs. So
yeah,
that's fun. They've won there before.
Yes, they have.
Scored. It's a different animal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have to go to New York City, though. You don't look forward to that in your life. Although
fighter jets in a washing machine.
Yeah, fifth is not the worst thing in the world. You have full permission, and no one should have to give you permission for this. I don't mean to phrase it like that. You have everyone's blessing to be incredibly pissed off, though, because looking at this, you look at the points that have been dropped for Atlanta United. They should have already been clinched, and they should be talking about third place. They shouldn't be talking about fifth place because of the dropped points.
Yeah,
and it's you can still be really pissed off about it, and nothing you can do about it now other than be kind of mad about it. So sorry, that's kind of where you're at with it. Yeah, Red Bulls is going to have to go take care of business to stay in. DC is theoretically alive.
DC, yeah, because if DC beats Toronto, they get to 47. Then things would have to stand pat in front of.
But they would also have Red Bulls would have to get their ass beat, and DC would have to win.
Yeah, that's the thing. DC's
Red
goal
Bulls
difference
have that 6 goal advantage
right.
On
yeah,
goal
so
differential.
DC needs like the same kind of win that Atlanta would have to have against them by Cincinnati. It would have to be a 7-goal victory by Cincinnati to have any impact on Atlanta not making the playoffs. And the same for DC. They need a 7-goal win in Toronto to get within anywhere close to earshot and hope that nothing above them happens. They would hope that.
Well, they could have if they win 3-0 and Red Bulls loses 3-0, then you're in a situation where it's that 6-goal differential disappears really damn quickly because it becomes +3 for both teams. Best advice for DC is to go in and score early and often in Toronto, and then Orlando again as we said Orlando and Montreal is just going to be a rock fight. It's going to be hilarious. Out west, man, I guess Seattle is going to win. They've decided they do want to win the West. We'll talk to Nico about it, but I mean, it's nobody in the West seems to want to win the damn thing because here's the thing: Decision Day out west is going to be weird as well because of Seattle, Kansas City, and Colorado. Seattle's on 59 points.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City and Colorado are on 58 each.
Right.
So somebody out there is going to win the Western Conference and get a spot in CONCACAF Champions League. I don't know who that's going to be. If you do, let me know. Also, I will take your numbers for the lottery if you got them as well, and we'll keep building little pitches around town. See, looking at the rest of it.
Well, because you look at Sporting putting up a clunker last night in Austin. Yes. And great way for
hilarious
Austin to it's a great way for Austin to finish out their home season at Q2 with their 9th win of the year. Seattle on decision day, they've got Vancouver right now north of the playoff bar, and that one is going to be at BC Place. Sporting hosts RSL. RSL put up the clunker last night against Portland, which assured them the number 4 spot. That can't change. The 4 spot is Portland. We know this. This is locked in. Colorado, Colorado could do a lot of folks. They could gain a lot of fans if they held LAFC to a draw and just played kickabout for 90 minutes, because then LAFC does not make the postseason. LAFC has to go for the win at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. As Colorado right now, 58 points, 16 wins.
Colorado's going to go for Colorado at this point. I mean, they can't drop out of third. I mean, they
Nope.
can't drop any lower than they are. Colorado, I suspect, will be going for it because if they win and get some help, they're in Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Then you get into 5 and 7, and I think the match out west that a lot of folks will be looking at is Minnesota at Dignity Health Sports Park taking on Minnesota United. So Minnesota
LA
United,
Galaxy, Minnesota United.
Yeah, LA Galaxy, Minnesota United. Minnesota United right now at 48 points and 13 wins. They're at 5. They're at 5th place with a -2 goal difference at 13 wins. They have the one more win than Vancouver, which puts them in 5th. Vancouver in 6th, and the Galaxy right now in 7th. RSL's at 45. LAFC's at 45. Everybody else is playing out the string. San Jose hosting FC Dallas, and Austin goes to Portland. Houston's season is done at 30 points.
And let me tell you, by the way, Minnesota, for my money, Minnesota's the one to watch here because Minnesota's in 5th place on 48 points. If they win and things go right, they could be hosting a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could absolutely host a playoff game. If things go wrong for them, they could be out of the playoffs entirely. They are, and the teams below them, Vancouver, LA Galaxy, in that conversation as well. Same with RSL and LAFC just outside the window looking in like Ralphie, looking at the Red Rider. It's going to be really dumb, and Vancouver's in that conversation with Minnesota that if they win, which Vancouver has Seattle, that's going to be a really tough ask. If Vancouver or Minnesota slip up at all, both of them have the opportunity to either host a playoff game. I think. Yeah. No, they don't. I'm sorry, because Minnesota's on 48 points and Portland's on 52. So scratch all that. Minnesota can either go on the road to Portland or be out of the playoffs or anywhere in between.
Yes, because
sorry about that.
Portland is the one that's locked in place at number 4. 5, 6, and 7 are in play. 1, 2, and 3 are in play in the West. It's going to be a fun decision day. All right, let's get into Twitter. And thanks to everyone who hopped in last night, gave us your thoughts, and thanks to those who thought about it for an evening and gave us your thoughts this morning as we're discussing it. Some of the things we've already talked about. So, Jarrett, once again, we'll play cliffhanger rules. If there's one that you want to specifically address, we will stop and you can address it. Nickajack88 says, so did Atlanta play for the tie last night? If so, you have to say they managed it well. And it goes to a subsequent tweet from our buddy Dan James, who says, I was encouraged by the patience and focus the team displayed. To play successfully in a way that is counter to your natural state is a sign of maturity that I hope will serve us well in the near future.
I agree. I mean, I without having been inside the minds of everybody, I don't have a machine to do that. I'd like to think the game plan was we're going to come out and we're going to execute and try and see what we can build. Crap. It ain't going to be one of those nights. All right, well, hit the parachute. We're going to kind of go against our nature here and make them as miserable as they're going to make us.
Ragamuffin comes in, says, Big Sam would be proud. Take that as you like. I don't think it was quite Big Sam enough, but it was taking what was happening in front of you and turning it into the best situation that you can. John Nason, our resident Coventry City fan, says, when you play in an effective 5-5-0, should you expect something different? Other teams have figured them out, so what gives? Atlanta now has had 4 coaches give it a shot. And to be honest, the only time we won, #Chris Armas blew it, but we're basically in, so nice point.
Yeah, I mean, you got into the playoffs. That's where I'm at with it, and I get the frustration about it because you want. There's something very enjoyable about beating Red Bulls if you're Atlanta United, because it is that rivalry, and they have broken you a couple of times in ways that piss you off, frankly. And you'd love to just you'd love to go ruin their day. You could have put them in a really tight situation for playoff reasons. Didn't do that, but you got a point. You kind of have to, for my money, you kind of have to kind of take it all in stride, because it's a very unique animal in a situation like this where you don't want to get so far ahead of yourself where you're thinking about, okay, we got to go pick up a win. We got to go beat Red Bulls doing our thing, playing their game. Not necessarily just don't lose to Red Bulls. And that's what you did. You went and you did not lose to Red Bulls. That is a good marker. I'm pumping that into a calculator and just putting out a happy face. I have zero complaints at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Great job. It wasn't always pretty. But I've also watched a lot of games in these few years of Atlanta United's existence where we watched Atlanta United carry the water for a game and then just sat there and watched another team choose not to do that. And we were just supposed to, we could get upset about it, but we were supposed to just shrug and be like, that's the game. Okay, well, it was Atlanta's turn. Atlanta decided to do that last night, and it worked for them. So, turnabout's fair play, universe.
Yes. And Gonzalo Pineda, as it was mentioned on the broadcast last night by Mike and Jason, pretty much celebrated this result like it was a win. And when you're doing something that's counterintuitive and you come up with the result that you did, I would celebrate it as a win as well. You got a point. You're in the playoffs. You just don't know where. You take care of business on the weekend, and you figure it out from there. Caleb Wright, this year's Atlanta United reminds me of the Atlanta United late 17, early 18, looking disjointed, not on the same page, but finding results. Kerry Smith, ugly game, questionable lineup choice. So, Kerry, what I would ask in a follow-up after you listen to this show is what would you have done lineup-wise? The poor play by the midfield forced the front line to play deeper, which made it very tough to generate an attack. He likes to set you in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, but not when playing three center backs. I wouldn't, Jarrett, call it poor play in the midfield. It's trying to generate something of an attack when all of that pressure is happening around you and trying to figure out a way to get something done in the middle third and the attacking third. I don't think it was poor play in the midfield.
And this is one where when we say, hey, what would you do differently? Don't mean it in a mean way. Like, genuinely tell me what you would do differently, because everybody sees the game differently. And I'd love to see what people's ideas are of how you would like to see the game played, and to see, like, if you had your say, how would you have lined it up? How would you have attacked it? Because everyone sees it differently, and everyone has different feelings about Red Bulls. I know a lot of people who loved what Red Bulls do, and they're a big fan of it. And if you don't have guys who are going to play technical, it's an awesome way to go about life, because it's going to get you results. Now, it hasn't paid off in a MLS Cup yet, but they've got a couple shields back when the shield actually meant something.
Right.
But everyone's going to see it differently. So I'm very interested to see, how people would have lined this up, because I think if you went to 10 different Atlanta United fans, you'd probably come up with 9 or 10 different opinions on how they should line up in any game. And that's probably doubly true for Red Bulls, because, you get tired of hitting your head against a brick wall. You ask people, hey, I don't want to hit my head against this brick wall anymore. You go to different people, they're going to have different strategies on how you can deal with said brick wall. So by all means, y'all, feel free next time we do this after decision day. Please feel free to throw in if you want to. Please don't feel like you have to. This isn't a challenge. But please feel free to jump in with I'd have done things differently.
Yeah,
Here's
exactly
how I would have done it. If you don't do that, no one's going to criticize you for it. And if they do, tell them to piss off. Tell them that they need to learn the fabled lesson of doing whatever the absolute hell you want with your life. But if you want to throw it in there with us, we're happy to do it. Because
absolutely.
I think the change late in the game when you bring on George Campbell, you just bring on George Campbell, who is basically like a Cape Buffalo into the midfield, which is hilarious. He ain't played midfield in years, y'all. I think he came up to academy in that midfield style, but he ain't played it in a long time.
But I think having that kind of a brick wall that you can go to, or that kind of a defensive,
you wanted someone to win the 50-50 balls, and that's what he's going to do. Welcome to George Campbell's experience.
Yes. Gustavo came in last night. Hola, Gustavo.
Hello, Gustavo.
Possession without finishing is like defending without possession. It's useless. Atlanta United earned a point. We didn't lose 2 because the opponent didn't know how to win us.
Yeah. And I think he's right. And that's something I think we've talked about with Red Bulls. We talked about with Red Bulls going back to Eastern Conference Finals. If you make Red Bulls carry the water, they can't most of the time. They might do it a couple times, and if they do it, you kind of just. I mean, tipping your cap triggers the hell out of me because of Freddie Gonzalez, but you kind of tip your cap if they're able to carry it and make it work. Because most of the time, they're not going to be able to make it work because that's not how they're built. In the same sense of if you said because we get this question a lot with Atlanta United of like, oh, is this did Red Bulls figure out like the blueprint? I mean, like, I mean, in theory, yeah, but I'm gonna go with the blueprint theory to a similar answer to Aqib Talib gave during the 2016 Falcons season that ended with redacted. Someone asked Aqib Talib after the Falcons won in Denver, did Atlanta figure out a way to stop this vaunted Denver defense? If you remember, that Denver defense won a title the year before by putting Cam Newton into a level of shell shock we have not seen since the Psalm.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, unless they have a Tevin Coleman, no. Because Tevin Coleman was a different animal coming off that 2016 team. Most teams in the league didn't have a guy like that who could be spelled and who could be fresh for every other drive. You know, to have a blueprint to beat Atlanta with the way Red Bulls do it, like, yeah, if you've got a Red Bull system, sure, it can work if you have the guys to do it, and if you have the tenacity and the constitution to do it for 90 minutes. Because if you go halfway with this pressing style and you don't commit to it, you are going to get cut into ribbons. You got to go all out for it. And it takes, like, we talk about the level of bravery it takes for Atlanta to play out of the back and to pass against Red Bulls. It takes a level of bravery if you're the Red Bulls to play the way they do.
Yep.
It's not a chicken shit style where it's just fear. Like, it takes bravery, and they have to get stuff right, and they have to pick up the fouls, and they have to manage the game. You know, if somebody in the midfield picks up a yellow card, well, we got to be careful about that. We got to like rotate our fouls. You got it's not just Frankenstein ball. Like, you don't have to like it, and I don't always love it at all, but it's not like just a mindless Frankenstein style. They got to commit to it 110%. If you don't commit to it 110%, you don't have the people and the culture to do it, you will die. And it'll be like God, there's an OSHA post from a couple of years ago of like of a sign in like a machining shop where like the sign says like, if you fall into this, it will kill you and it will hurt the entire time. And that's kind of, for me, that's kind of what it's like if you try and play Red Bull style and you aren't Red Bulls. Like, if you try this and you are not committed to it, you will die. And it will be nigh enjoyable the entire time. So, yeah, it's hard to say. I guess the thesis here is it's hard for me to sit here and say there's a blueprint.
And that goes into what Michael Head was asking, and I think you got into it. He was curious, why do other teams have more success against Red Bulls than Atlanta United? Lost 3 at home, 9 on the road. Yet Red Bull are not unbeatable. They are against us. And more importantly, why after 5 coaches, no one can figure it out. And so that was what Michael was asking as a part of your answer. So,
well, Atlanta picked a really shitty time to play Red Bulls, by the way, because
yeah,
middle of the season, Red Bulls were trash.
They were. And I think that they have,
sports.
I think that this team with a new coach, it was going to take time for them to get adjusted to what Gerhard Struber wanted them to do within the Red Bulls construct. And so when it finally got to that point where they understood what Struber was asking of them, you're seeing what you're seeing where they've won 7 of their last 11. So I think it was a growth curve for the Red Bulls players to understand what Struber wanted them to do. But when they figured it out, you're seeing those end results. A very, very frustrating team to go up against defensively when you're looking at
Philly in the first round, because that's just going to be a really petty game.
Yes.
And I'm here for it.
Yes. Former intern Niall with a question. And he asks if Atlanta makes the playoffs, and we are assuming short of a 7-goal loss to Cincinnati that they will.
That would be one of the worst collapses I've ever seen in professional sports, by the way, when you attack all the losing 7-0 to Cincinnati would be a thing that would break a lot of people, and I would not ever blame any of them for feeling broken if it happened, by the way. Like, it's not going to happen, though.
No.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
So
It's gonna be okay, guys.
yes. So Niall is asking, what should their expectations be, and how far do you think they can go?
I don't know, because they're going to be on the road for most of it. You're going to be on the road if all things being equal right now. You're going to be on the road going to New York City if it ends like this. That's a really tough game to win. You won in the playoffs there before.
Fighter jets in a washing machine available at the Soccer Down Here store.
And yes, it is. It's such a damn challenge, and if you win, you're gonna be asking somebody to win an upset in that first round for you to host. I believe you need an upset there to host a playoff game. I don't know. You're asking them to win 2 playoff games potentially before you get to
your second
Gillette Stadium.
I was going to say your second round semifinal could very well be against New England.
Oh God, it could be. I was thinking they would avoid him to the finals, but
if you're the 4-5,
depends on how it breaks.
Right. If you're the 4-5, then if you win, depending on lower seedings, what you're hoping is that there's another lower seed that wins as well, if I remember the playoff structure correctly. And lowest seed goes to New England. Lowest surviving seed would then go to New England, and then you'd have your midpoint. So what you're hoping for is someone below you to get the Duke in the first round on the road.
And for what it's worth, by the way, just so we can put this into context now, Atlanta's played New England really well this year.
Mm-hmm. And they also did it.
They should have picked up a point in New England,
right?
Early in the season, and then the last game Gabriel Heinze managed was New England in Atlanta, and New England again. I don't even. We talk about New England set the points record. We're still not talking about them correctly, in my opinion, because they set the points record, and we're still not I don't know if we're giving them enough credit for what they did.
And remember, the game in New England was the game where both Ezequiel Barco and Jurgen Damm left because of injury. And it was still in the time of flying up the day of, and all of the machinations that you had to do with day of charters and things like that. That's how long ago this was that we're talking about here. So New England has been shown to be vulnerable, but you have to finish your chances, especially if you're in Gillette. So that's it's
going to be cold and miserable, by the way. I promise you. It's not going to be pleasant.
No, and you'll still have football lines on the field, but that's just me. Chris Hutchison comes in and says, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. He called it bow ring in 2 syllables. And Chris, I imagine that when it comes to Atlanta United, you were looking for the team that's going to score 2 or 3 on the road, or 2 or 3 pretty much every single time out. There are games when you come up against teams like a Red Bull.
Watch Sunday. So they'll try and do that Sunday.
Yeah. So Red Bulls will be the team that will frustrate you and that will cut your goal average proportionally because of the style that they have. And the choice is, do you try to match what they're trying to do and get, as Jarrett has said earlier in the show, cut to ribbons over it? Or do you try to be pragmatic? And I don't mean that in a negative sense. Do you try to be just understanding the context of where you are and try your best? And in this case, it's to make sure that the opposition is just as frustrated offensively as they make you. And so it ends up canceling each other out and you end up with a draw. All right. So let's see how many more we have on Twitter before we wrap it up. The Soccer for Good OG, Joe Robin, says the game was actually a case where 2 wrongs make a right. Counter the boring negative soccer with even more boring negative soccer and get the result. Out Red Bull, the Red Bull masterclass. Bye-bye LMAO. Well done, Profe. And that's the point we've kind of been making for the last hour.
Yeah, you went in there and you decided that I guess I'm still in my mind thinking they had a plan to play. And then when it wasn't on, they basically resorted to plan B of just get the hell out of here with a point. Because they did try and play out of the back sometimes, but it was like if it wasn't there, they were not going to get caught, and they still got caught a couple times. But they were not going to try and consistently get caught out. I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just live to fight another day.
That's what Atlanta United did. Emilio comes in and says it'd be best to take nothing away from any Red Bulls game. Took a point,
If Red Bulls weren't so painful to watch, I would or should watch a New England Red Bulls game to see how New England approaches it.
Philadelphia Red Bulls is going to be fun too if they end up playing in the playoffs. That'll be a rock fight as well. Yeah, like Red Bulls games are just kind of weird, man. It's hard to take a lot out of them. Like you can take out of like the Eastern Conference Final game. That was great because Red Bulls put a middle block instead of a high press. You saw how that worked out for them. It's tough to take a Red Bulls game at face value, at full value, because it's just weird. They play their style more so than anyone else is going to play it. So yeah, it's okay if you don't. It's okay if you choose not to read into a Red Bulls game.
Mm-hmm.
It's also okay if you choose to. If you choose to run with it, live your best life, man.
If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Last one on the board from Dan C. at I am Dan NYC on Twitter. He says, Foulfest 2021 continued last night. Red Bulls committed 17 fouls, only issued 2 yellows, 1 to Klamala for dissent, and the other came in the 91st. So if you combine that with what Abby said, inconsistent calls by the ref, and the AR couldn't make up his own mind half the time, waited for the center ref to call which way an out-of-bounds call should go. There are folks who are looking at the officiating from last night as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's a Red Bulls game, man. I don't have it in me to yell at them, the Red Bulls. Like, I'm so tired. Tired of Red Bulls. All right.
Understood. So since you're tired of Red Bulls, and we have talked about it here on Salty for a good solid hour, once again, thanks to everybody who has chimed in to let us know what you were thinking either immediately after last night's match or this morning as we were getting ready for it. Programming reminder, Nico Moreno and Thursdays with Nico coming up on the network as well. Just keep an ear out also for Jason possibly coming on this afternoon and doing an AMA. If there's any lingering thoughts from either of the programs that we have put out today, we can catch up. You can catch up with Jason before he calls State and Southern later tonight on ESPN Plus. So it's going to be a fun night for all of us. And we have survived Red Bulls, and now all we do now, Jarrett, is look for Decision Day.
Yeah, we do. Should be a lot of fun. Decision Day is going to be a really good time for everybody. Atlanta will be fine. Now we just find out where they land and where they go for the first round.
Send us home. That's it for Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends.
Butch Platte, y'all. Be nice to each other. Don't suck. How about that?